of your childhood, chances are you were fed, given shelter and clean water, and most likely you lived with family or a loving caregiver. If this is true, you are fortunate. For roughly 153 million orphan children around the world, life is not that easy, and days are not typically filled with love and laughter. For most, life is repetitive, uncertain, and lonely. To put this in perspective, 153 million is about half of the American population. If that doesn't sink in, think of it as more than the entire population of well-established countries like Russia, Japan, Mexico, Germany, France, Thailand, and many, many more. This statistic doesn't even include the estimated 7 million children that are living in institutional care. It also doesn't include the millions of children that are living on the streets, victims of trafficking, sold for labor, or those that have been forced to become child soldiers. By these numbers, approximately every 15 seconds a child becomes an orphan. Think of it like this. If you and your family spend an hour socializing and eating dinner together, another 240 children could possibly have become orphans by the time you are done. Today, in the United States, there are nearly 400,000 children living in the foster care system without a permanent family. There are an additional 100,000 or more that are ready to be adopted from domestic orphanages. That is enough children to fill Dodger Stadium twice. This year, about 30,000 children will age out of the care system and be left with no source of support and no place to call home. It is estimated that half of these youth will form a substance addiction, and up to 10% will die from suicide before their 18th birthday. In Africa, the AIDS epidemic has continued to affect the orphan population for decades, and it will for decades to come. There are nearly 1.6 million new cases of AIDS each year in Africa, and 1.2 million die from the disease annually. That means that the orphan population in this region will continue to remain steady as long as the disease is prevalent. Additionally, children orphaned by AIDS show a horrifying level of emotional distress, with more than 10% affirming that they wish to be dead. Another major cause of a child becoming an orphan is medical need. It is estimated that over 95% of orphans in China were abandoned at birth due to a malformation of some kind, whether life-threatening or merely cosmetic. This marks a major change in the Chinese orphan trend. Historically, a large percentage were female. Now reports show that orphanages are home to an equal amount of young girls and boys, but that nearly all have a special need or culturally taboo condition. No matter why a child ends up an orphan, the stress and hardship they will endure is inevitable. Many of these young, innocent souls will feel depressed, confused, and lonely. Many will consider suicide over time, and some will attempt it. Even more unnerving, studies estimate that nearly 50% of children in institutional care will experience physical or sexual abuse at least once. Whether the cause is poverty, disease, cultural beliefs, natural disaster, or war, the bottom line is that there are nearly 153 million orphans around the world that need us to care about them, and if possible, to help.